What is going on, everybody? As you guys know, James Harden opted into his contract and then requested a trade, with everyone saying that he's going to be heading to the Los Angeles Clippers. But now we are getting some news out of Adrian Wojnarowski that Daryl Morey hopes to convince James Harden to stay with the 76ers next season. And this, for me, is very, very crazy because we kind of had the same situation happen with Ben Simmons a few years ago. And could this be smokescreen for the Philadelphia 76ers? Ultimately, could this be something where he just wants to increase the trade value of James Harden? Well, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, the Sixers would love to keep Harden next season. Morey believes his relationship with Harden could help change his current thoughts on returning, and they're still talking to teams about a potential Harden trade, mainly the Clippers. And this process could play out all the way until training camp, which begins in September. And that was pretty much the same situation with Ben Simmons. It went on for a long time, over a year, I believe. And ultimately, Ben Simmons got traded, of course. For me, though, I believe this is 100% smokescreen. It is the same situation as Ben Simmons. Daryl Morey is a GM that wants a star like James Harden. He wants a return to be very, very massive. And ultimately, I think for the 76ers, they want to get a star like Paul George. They're aiming to get a star like Paul George, Damian Lillard, and others. They don't want just like Norman Powell and Polly Morris. That's not really going to change anything for the 76ers. I think the projected wins for the 76ers, if they got a trade like that, it wouldn't be good at all. So ultimately, what Daryl Morey is trying to do, he's trying to increase the trade value and get some more picks, more players to go after a player like Paul George. Just looking at really what happened to transpire to this James Harden requesting out of Philadelphia 76ers. So ultimately, I think that there was some negotiating between James Harden and the Philadelphia 76ers that went wrong. I think he wanted way more money than what the 76ers wanted him to do. And I think that the 76ers didn't see James Harden having a big impact in their future. And there's some questions surrounding James Harden, because we saw it in the playoffs. He went from having 40-point games in 2 games, and then he went to having 10 points in a closeout Game 7 game versus the Boston Celtics. And I think for the 76ers, they didn't want to offer him a lot of money for him to stay. So they're exploring different trade opportunities, and ultimately they want to get the best player back for James Harden. They don't want to mess this thing up because the 76ers process has been going on for so long. So for them, I think if they don't get the big deal this offseason, James Harden will be staying with the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, ultimately, I don't think that will happen. I think there's something that will come up because, if I'm being honest, I think James Harden's trade value is way more than Ben Simmons' trade value around that same time, because of the issues that Ben Simmons had with his jump shot and everything. People were really questioning Ben Simmons' mentality. So this thing will probably take a while, but ultimately I think that James Harden is going to be ending up in the Los Angeles Clippers, or potentially a different team in a 3-team trade or whatnot. And maybe could Daryl Morey use those potential players that he gets back from the Los Angeles Clippers, potentially it being Paul George? Could he package that and somehow get Damian Lillard? I mean, that is possible. I would hope that is the best scenario, because I don't think the 76ers want to move Tyrese Maxey. I think it is probably the best decision not to move Tyrese Maxey. He is the franchise. He is probably the second best player on that entire team. What they should really do, in my opinion, they should package James Harden, Tobias Harris, Paul Reed, maybe Jaden Springers, and some picks. Looking around the league, I think there's so much different teams that would potentially want to take that. You got James Harden, obviously, is a pretty solid player. Tobias Harris, a solid player. Paul Reed, young talent, who's really good. And Jaden Springer, a young talent that we've seen in the Summer League almost a day ago. He's doing pretty good. So that's what will happen for this Philadelphia 76ers team. It's going to suck, though, because they really should move James Harden quickly as possible, because this offseason, they're now losing out on a lot of different free agents. And if you look at what the 76ers bench has, it's very, very trash. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what Daryl Morey is doing. He really should make this something that he quickly moves off this James Harden trade. Could they get a star potentially later on? Yes, but it is a very, very risky thing for Daryl Morey to kind of just wait things out. Their bench is very horrible, and if James Harden stays, their bench will be worse than it was last year, and things won't be looking so good for the Philadelphia 76ers. So that is where I stand with things on this 76ers team. James Harden trade is going to be taking a while. And with that being said, I think that is going to wrap up things with this video. What do you guys think about this James Harden trade news overall? Put it down in the comments down below. With that being said, do not forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, subscribe for a cookie. It's your boy Josh the Arch. Shut him up.